The cage in the wreckage. The sky was dark with smoke. The wind carried dust and ash across the broken metal of a crashed alien ship. Fires still burned in parts of the wreckage. The war had ended weeks ago, but the battlefield still whispered stories no one wanted to hear. Elias walked carefully through the ruins. He was not a soldier. He was just a salvage worker, one of the humans sent to collect anything useful from old alien battle zones. Most of his team had gone deeper into the crash site, but something made him stop. He heard a sound. Tap, tap, tap. It was soft, almost like a heartbeat. Elias froze. He held his breath and listened. Tap, tap, tap. It was coming from beneath a pile of blackened panels. Curious, he pushed some of the metal aside. Underneath was something strange. A clear wall like glass but thicker. It wasn't cracked or dirty like everything else. It was clean. Too clean. He leaned closer and wiped off the dust with his glove. His eyes widened. Inside the glass cage was a girl, not human. She had soft blue skin that shimmered faintly even in the dark. Her hair floated around her like silver threads, and her eyes were open, glowing a soft purple. She didn't move much, but she blinked, slowly, like someone half awake from a deep, cold sleep. Elias took a step back, shocked. What the hell? She looked right at him, not with fear, not with anger, just waiting. He spoke through the glass, even though he knew she might not understand. Are you okay? She didn't answer, but her hand moved slowly, rising to touch the glass. Her fingers pressed gently against it. She was alive. Elias tapped his own hand on the same spot. Her hand didn't pull back. Hey, he called out to his team. There's someone in here, a survivor. No answer. His comm crackled, but the signal was weak. Too much metal around. The others were probably too far or didn't care. Elias turned back to her. Hold on, I'll get you out. He tried to find a latch or a lock on the glass cage. Nothing. It was seamless, like it had grown from the ship itself. He pulled out his small plasma cutter and tested it on the edge of the glass. Nothing happened. No burn marks, no scratch. This isn't normal glass, he muttered. The alien girl watched him closely. Her eyes were tired but focused. She didn't look afraid. She looked like she had been waiting a long, long time. Elias sat down beside the cage. Why did they leave you here? He asked softly. Are you a prisoner? A test subject? The girl closed her eyes for a moment. Then she pointed very slowly at the corner of the cage. Elias turned to look. There, on the inside of the glass, was a small symbol glowing red. It looked like a lock. A symbol he didn't recognize, but it gave him an idea. Elias opened his datapad and scanned the area. The cage gave off a strange energy, old tech, probably alien biotech. Something that responded to thoughts, feelings, or maybe intentions. He sighed. I don't even know where to start. He stood up again and spoke clearly. If you can hear me, I'm going to find a way to break this thing. The girl blinked once, slowly. He placed his hand flat on the glass again. Her hand moved once more and touched his. For a moment, Elias felt something, a warmth through the glass. Not heat, not energy, something deeper. Like her fear, her hope, and her strength were flowing into him, and something inside him whispered, "Don't leave her." Elias nodded. "I'm not going anywhere." Then behind him, a crash. He spun around. A part of the ship's roof had fallen. The noise echoed through the wreckage. His team would definitely hear that. And if they came now, what would they do? Some humans feared aliens. Others hated them. He looked back at the girl. She was still staring at him, silently. Alone. Trapped. Forgotten. But now, she wasn't alone anymore. The rest of the salvage team returned before sunset. They brought broken tech, scraps of alien weapons, and data cores, But they ignored the lower part of the wreckage where Elias waited beside the strange glass cage. "What did you find?" the team leader asked. Elias looked up slowly. "Nothing useful yet," he lied. "Just more melted walls and smoke." They nodded and moved on. One of the men laughed. "Don't waste time down here with broken dreams, Elias. Let's pack up. We leave at dawn." Elias didn't answer. His eyes returned to the cage. As the others left, he quietly returned to her. The alien girl hadn't moved much. She was curled up now like she had fallen asleep again. Her silver hair floated gently in the air, as if the gravity inside her cage was strange. Her eyes were closed, but he could still see the faint glow beneath her lids. Elias sat down cross-legged in front of the cage. He spoke softly. "They're gone. Just you and me now." He placed his hand on the glass again. Nothing happened this time. She didn't move. But Elias could still feel something, like the silence between them had meaning. He spent hours studying the cage. The edges melted into the floor like it had grown out of the ship's core. It had no wires, no buttons, no door. It looked smooth, perfect, like it wasn't made by hands. It felt alive. Elias pulled out his field journal and began sketching it. "You're not a prisoner in a cage," he whispered. "You're a secret." He searched through his tools again, tried tapping gently on the surface, and even whispered random words in alien dialects. Still nothing. The girl remained quiet. Then just before midnight her eyes opened, slow, heavy, tired, but they locked on his. "You're awake," Elias breathed. She blinked once. Then her lips moved. No sound came out. Her voice had been gone too long. Elias leaned closer. "What is it? Can you understand me?" She tried to speak again. Her lips formed a word he couldn't understand. Then she pointed weakly at his chest, right where his heart was. Elias frowned. "Heart?" She nodded faintly, then placed her hand flat on the glass over his. This time something changed. A soft glow spread from her palm. The glass lit up between their hands and a soft humming filled the air. Elias felt a strange warmth move through him. Not painful, not cold. It was like emotion had a shape, like her feelings were being passed through the barrier into him. He closed his eyes and suddenly saw flashes, not pictures, feelings, emotions, terror, darkness, betrayal. Then, peace, safety, hope. Elias pulled back, breathing hard. She looked at him gently, with tired but grateful eyes. "You're showing me," he whispered. "You're speaking without words." She nodded again, slower this time. Her body was growing, weaker by the minute. She was trapped for too long. Her energy was fading. Elias stood up quickly. "No, I won't let you die here." He ran to the storage crates and pulled out energy cells, tools, emergency heat packs, anything that might help. He placed them around the cage, trying to transfer heat and power through the surface. Nothing worked. Frustrated, he slammed his hand on the cage. "Come on, there has to be a way." The moment he shouted, the glass flickered. Elias paused. "Wait, that did something." He stepped back, lowered his voice, and gently said, "Please, open." The glass glowed softly again. He realized something then. It didn't respond to strength. It responded to intent. The cage wasn't locked by machines, it was locked by emotion. Fear, anger, hate, these things kept it closed. But care, trust, and calm, they made it listen. Elias sat down again. He closed his eyes, spoke calmly. "I don't know your name. I don't know why they trapped you. But I believe you don't belong in there. I don't want to hurt you. I want to help." Slowly, carefully, he reached out. She did the same. Their palms met on the glass again, and this time the light didn't stop. It spread. It grew brighter, warmer, and then began to crack gently across the surface, like ice melting under spring sun. But it didn't shatter. Not yet. The girl smiled faintly, her lips trembling. Then she whispered the first clear word Elias had heard from her. Soon. And she closed her eyes again. Elias leaned back and whispered to himself. She's not just waiting for freedom. She's waiting for someone who truly means it. He looked around the wreckage, then up at the dark sky. Everyone else would leave in the morning, but he was going to stay. Elias woke to a cold wind brushing his face. He had fallen asleep sitting against a wall near the strange glass cage. The alien girl was still inside, still curled in the same spot, glowing softly in the dark. But something was different. The cracks on the cage were gone. He jumped up, rushed forward, and placed his hand where the light had appeared the night before. The glass was smooth again, like it had healed. No, he whispered. Why did it fix itself? The girl didn't move. Her breathing was slow, shallow. The purple glow in her eyes barely showed beneath her eyelids now. She was slipping away. Elias clenched his fists. He had almost reached her. The light, the cracks, the feeling. It had all been real. And now, the cage was stronger than before. He opened his toolkit again, going over every option. Metal cutters, sonic disruptor, acid gel, all failed. The moment any force touched the glass, it turned solid and dark, like it refused to be harmed. It was like trying to break a living wall. Think, Elias. Think, he muttered. He stared at her again. Something in his heart pulled him toward her, not fear, not pity, but connection. He didn't even know her name, but he couldn't leave her. He tried touching the glass again gently. Can you hear me? Nothing. He tried again, this time whispering, I want to help. The glass responded just barely. A soft warmth passed into his hand, but it faded too quickly. Elias sat down hard, frustrated. So it's not about tools, it's about emotions. But how do I give enough to open it? Then he had an idea. He stood and walked back to the salvage pod. Inside, the others were packing up. The team leader looked annoyed. Where have you been? I found a stasis unit, Elias replied. One with a living alien inside. What? That's dangerous, the man said, eyes narrowing. Report it to command and leave it alone. Elias shook his head. She's not dangerous. She's dying. The team leader's voice grew cold. We don't rescue aliens, especially not ones locked in glass coffins. If she's in there, she's meant to stay in there. She's not a weapon. She's not infected. She's just trapped. I said no. The leader snapped. If you care so much, stay here and rot with her. We leave in 1 hour. Elias didn't argue. He turned and walked back into the wreckage, his heart racing. He didn't need their help. He needed something more powerful. Not outside, but inside. He sat in front of the cage again and placed both palms on the glass. I don't know if you can feel this, but I need you to listen. I need you to stay awake. His voice was shaky but honest. When I was 10, my family died in a fire. I was the only one left. Everyone told me it was a miracle I lived. But I didn't feel lucky. I felt empty, cold, lost. He pressed harder, eyes locked on the girl. But today when I saw you in there, something woke up in me. You were alone too, and I saw that look in your eyes. The same look I had, like you were waiting for someone to care. The glass warmed under his hands. Elias continued. I care. I don't know why. Maybe it's because no one cared about me for so long. Maybe it's because you're more than what they said you were, but I believe in you. Suddenly the glass began to glow again, stronger, brighter. Cracks reappeared, this time with golden light flowing through them like veins of sunlight. The girl stirred, her hand rose slowly, weakly, until her palm met his again, and then, a pulse. The entire wreckage shook with a deep hum. The cage cracked further. A loud sound rang out, a soft musical chime, not like breaking but unlocking. Elias held his breath. Then the glass vanished, not shattered, but dissolved into the air like mist. The girl collapsed into his arms. She was cold, so cold but breathing. Her eyes fluttered open, looking up at him. Her voice was barely a whisper. You are not like the others. Elias smiled gently, holding her close. No, and neither are you. He wrapped her in his coat and carried her toward the light of the rising sun. Behind them, the cage was gone. The wreckage was silent again, but something had changed. She was free, and he was no longer alone. Elias built a fire outside the wreckage using broken wiring and dry alien roots. He had laid her down on a soft piece of cloth torn from his own tent. The alien girl's skin was still cold and her breath came in short, slow gasps, but she was free. That was something. He sat close, watching over her. The rising sun turned the gray sand golden. Wind rustled gently through the twisted metal remains. The silence between them wasn't empty. It felt like something sacred. After some time, her eyes opened. Elias leaned forward quickly. You're awake. Can you hear me? Her glowing purple eyes blinked once, then again. She tried to speak, but her voice broke into airless whispers. He quickly opened a water tube and helped her drink. Her thin fingers trembled. She coughed, a little, then rested again. Don't push yourself, Elias said softly. You're safe now. The cage is gone. She turned her head slowly to look at him. Her eyes studied his face, as if searching for something. Her lips moved again, and this time he heard her faint voice. You stayed? Yes, I stayed. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she sat up slightly and looked out at the battlefield. This place was once full of light. Elias listened carefully. I was a guardian, she whispered, a protector of our core chamber. Then the humans came. Not you, but others. Hunters. They broke through the shield. They wanted our energy. Elias frowned. Our soldiers from the war? She nodded slowly. They didn't understand. We offered peace. But they feared us. They feared our light. They thought we were hiding weapons. They took everything, and when I refused to open the final chamber, they trapped me. Elias felt a deep ache in his chest. They locked you in that cage because you didn't obey? She didn't answer with words. Her eyes said everything. He looked down at his hands, ashamed. I'm sorry for what they did. Her voice was quiet. I watched years pass through. The glass. I slept. I dreamed. I hoped. Someone would come. Someone not blinded by fear. She turned to him again. You came. Elias didn't know what to say. He just nodded. Suddenly, she winced. Her hands clutched her sides. What's wrong? He asked quickly, kneeling beside her. She gritted her teeth. The energy inside me is unstable. It's part of my kind. If I stay weak for too long, it breaks. Breaks? Like, explodes? She nodded faintly. Elias's heart pounded. Then we need to get you help. Medical care, food, anything. No, she said, gripping his arm. Not just help. I need balance. I need a mind, human or not, to link with me, to share the burden. Hesitated. You mean, like a connection? Yes. A mind without fear. A heart that chooses peace. He swallowed hard, nervous but steady. How do we do it? She reached out her hand. Let me show you. Elias looked at her hand, shaking and glowing with faint light. He slowly placed his own hand in hers. The moment they touched, the world fell away. He was no longer sitting by the fire. He was inside her memory. The sky was filled with gold stars and floating crystals. Alien towers rose from the ground like trees made of glass and wind. In the middle of it all, she stood tall, proud, surrounded by her people. Her face was calm, but her eyes held strength. Then darkness came. Explosions in the sky. Human ships, firing without warning. Screams, fire, destruction. Soldiers shouting orders, fear spreading like a plague. She stood before the chamber, arms outstretched. "You may take our machines," her memory voice said, "but you will not take the core." Then pain. Her own people dragged her away. She screamed as they sealed the glass around her. "They will destroy everything," they told her. "But we cannot let the humans access you. Not while your bond is still incomplete." She cried out, "Please don't leave me." But they did. Everything went dark. Elias gasped and pulled back. He was back beside the fire. She was shaking now, her breath unsteady. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I wasn't locked up because I failed," she whispered. "I was locked up because I was the only one who still believed in peace." Elias gripped her hand tighter. "Then let's finish what they didn't let you complete." She looked at him with wide, tear-filled eyes. "You're serious?" "Yes. You're not a weapon. You're a voice they tried to silence, but I hear you." She smiled faintly. And for the first time in years, she felt warmth from someone else. Not just heat, but trust. The wind howled louder now. Clouds gathered above the crash site, casting strange shadows across the battlefield ruins. Elias stood beside the alien girl, her hand still holding his, feeling the weight of her pain inside him. She was no longer just a stranger or a survivor. She was something more. A guardian. A voice that had been silenced by war. A light hidden in darkness. She opened her eyes again. The purple glow in her gaze was brighter now, but still fragile. Her lips parted. "The bond is starting, but it is not complete. The final seal remains." Elias looked around, confused. "Seal? What do you mean?" "The cage was only part of it," she explained softly. "My mind, my power, was locked in layers. One cage was glass, the other is inside me." Elias frowned. "And how do we break that?" She turned her head slowly, gazing at the wrecked ship behind them. "We must return to the chamber, where I was first locked away, the place where I lost myself." A cold chill passed through Elias. "You want to go back in there?" "Yes," she said. "Only there can the last chain be broken. Only there can I fully awaken. But we must. Hurry. I don't have much time." Elias helped her to her feet. She leaned on him heavily, her steps unsteady. Together they moved through the wreckage. The once dead metal seemed to respond as they passed. Lights flickered. Panels shifted. Something inside the ship remembered her. They reached a door hidden beneath fallen beams. Elias pulled the debris away with his bare hands, cutting his fingers, sweating hard. But he didn't stop. Not even when his arms ached. Finally, the door opened. The chamber beyond was cold and silent. It was a round room, smooth walls made of crystal-like material. In the center stood a tall, thin structure, almost like a throne, but made of living energy. The moment she stepped into the room, the structure glowed. Elias felt it too, a pressure, a hum in the air. Something old and powerful had awakened. "This is it," she whispered, "the heart of the seal." She walked forward alone. Her bare feet touched the ground with care and her silver hair floated softly behind her. The light in the room grew stronger with each step she took. Then she reached out and placed both hands on the glowing structure. Elias watched closely. The floor trembled. Light poured from the ceiling, wrapping around her like threads of gold and silver. Her body lifted slightly off the ground. Her voice came out in a strange echo. "Identity confirmed. Core spirit returned. But bond is incomplete." Then, a voice answered. Not hers. Not Elias's. It was the ship. Bond link required. Emotional. Sync with human mind requested. Awaiting confirmation. Elias stepped forward quickly. "I'm here. I'm the one who freed her." "State intent," the voice demanded. He looked up at the glowing machine. His voice was calm but firm. "I didn't come here to steal anything. I didn't come to hurt her. I stayed when no one else did. I believe she deserves to live. That's my reason. Silence. Then the voice replied, accepted. Final chain breaking in progress. The light flared. Elias watched as the girl cried out. Softly, but not in pain. The energy around her changed. Her body shone like starlight. The scars of her long sleep faded. Her strength returned. Her skin, once pale, now glowed with warmth. Then a blast of golden light burst from the structure. Elias shielded his eyes. When the light faded, she stood there, changed, no longer weak, no longer broken. Her eyes were bright, her stance strong. The air around her hummed with power, but she smiled, soft and grateful, looking only at Elias. You did it, she said. No, he replied. We did it. She walked toward him and gently took his hand. The cage is gone, not just the glass, the one in my mind. You freed me in ways no tool ever could. Elias looked into her eyes. You were never a prisoner. You were a light. They feared. And now you shine again. A rumble echoed outside the chamber. The salvage ship was returning. His team had noticed something strange on the scanners, power surging from a long-dead crash site. They'll come, Elias said. They'll want answers. Let them come, she replied, her voice calm. I'm not hiding anymore. He smiled. Neither am I. Together they stepped out of the chamber, hand in hand. The cage had shattered, but what had truly been set free was hope. The sky above the crash site cracked open with thunder. Elias and the alien girl, no longer fragile, no longer silent, stood at the edge of the chamber, watching as dust rose in the distance. A bright beam of light shot down from a ship descending fast. It wasn't just a salvage vessel, it was military. They tracked the energy spike, Elias said, eyes narrowing. They think a weapon's been activated. The girl turned to him calmly. They are not wrong. To them I am a weapon, but I am also more. Elias grabbed her hand. We need to leave before they surround us. But she didn't move. There is one more thing I must take back, she said, and looked up toward the broken tower at the ship's center. My memory was fragmented. A part of me still rests there. Another rumble shook the ground. The transport above them opened, its belly doors. 3 drones shot down in a flash, scanning the wreck. Go, Elias shouted. She ran beside him now, not limping anymore. Her feet moved fast, her body glowing faintly with each step. They moved through falling metal beams, past old alien terminals, toward the main tower. Behind them, the drones spotted movement. Targets acquired, a robotic voice announced from above. Bang! A warning shot slammed into the ground near their feet. Dust flew into their faces. The girl covered Elias with her body, her eyes glowing bright as she whispered something in her own language. A translucent shield formed around them like a bubble, deflecting the second blast. Elias looked at her in awe. How did you do that? I remembered. They reached the tower door. It was bent and rusted shut. Elias pulled out a torch and tried to cut through it, but the heat bounced off the surface. Stand back, she said. He moved aside. She stepped forward, raised her hand, and from her fingers came a burst of white light. It hummed, then pulsed. The door creaked, shuddered, and then exploded inward. Inside was a round platform. Floating above it was a small, glowing orb. Elias watched as she walked slowly toward it. Her fingers trembled as she touched it. The moment her skin made contact, the orb melted into light and entered her chest. Her whole body shook. She let out a soft cry, and her knees buckled. Elias rushed to catch her. I'm okay, she whispered. That was the last part of me. Outside, the ground shook again. The military ship had landed. Boots hit the ground. 10 armored soldiers stormed toward the wreckage. They're coming, Elias said. We need to move now. The girl nodded, and together they ran out the back of the tower, deeper into the ship's ruined underbelly. The soldiers shouted, Human, stop and surrender. Elias didn't stop. The girl placed her hand on the wall, and old panels began to light up. She whispered, "This ship still remembers me." A door opened, revealing a tunnel, dark but stable. They rushed through it. The tunnel twisted, dropped, and opened up into an old launch bay hidden beneath the sand. There, in the center, lay a half-buried transport pod, small but intact. Elias stared. "Do you think it still works?" The girl smiled. "It will now." As she stepped inside, the lights came on. The ship responded to her presence. Elias helped power the controls while she sat in the pilot's seat. She touched the panel, and it glowed like it recognized her soul. Outside soldiers entered the tunnel. "They're in here," one of them yelled. Elias hit the lock. The doors behind them slammed shut. "Prepare launch sequence," she said calmly. "But we're still underground," Elias replied. She reached for the controls. Not for long. The entire pod began to hum. Energy charged around the base. Elias strapped in, eyes wide. The ceiling above them glowed hot. And then, boom! A blast of energy shot upward, burning through the layers of wreckage, rock, and sky. The pod launched like lightning, shooting into the air past the clouds high above the battlefield. Elias laughed, breathless. "You did it." She turned to him, smiling. "We did it." Down below, the soldiers stared at the burning hole, too late to stop what had already risen. In the sky, they flew silently. The stars appeared once more. Elias looked out the window, then back at her. "What now?" he asked. She held his gaze, her voice gentle. "Now, I choose where I go, and I want you with me." The stars stretched endlessly outside the small ship's windows. Elias sat in the co-pilot seat, watching them shimmer like cold diamonds. He had never left Earth's orbit before. Now he was flying through space beside a being who had once been locked in a cage beneath sand and ruins, forgotten, alone. She moved quietly through the cabin, her body graceful, her strength now fully returned. The soft light of the ship reflected on her smooth blue skin and silver hair. But her eyes, those glowing purple eyes, still held sadness beneath their power. He finally asked, "What do I call you?" "I still don't know your name." She turned and gave a small smile. "You can call me Sarai." Elias nodded. "Sarai? That suits you." She sat across from him, her hands resting in her lap. "My people gave me that name before the war. It means guardian of the second sun. I was born to protect our core, a living energy source that kept our planet alive." "What happened to your world?" Elias asked softly. She looked down, her voice low. "It died. After the attack, after I was sealed away, no one could reach the core. Without it, everything faded. Oceans dried. Forests turned to dust. My people vanished, scattered across the stars or taken by the cold." Elias felt the weight of her pain. "And all that time, you were just waiting, in silence." "Yes, but not just waiting. Hoping." He nodded slowly. "They thought you were a danger, but you were the only one trying to protect them." She met his eyes. "And what about you, Elias? Why did you stay when everyone else walked away?" He didn't answer right away. He stared out the window. "Because I know what it's like to be left behind." He leaned back in the seat, his voice soft. "I wasn't special, I wasn't a hero, I was a nobody in a salvage team. No family, no real place to belong. But the moment I saw you in that cage, something inside me said, 'Don't walk away this time.'" She tilted her head. "You listened to that voice. Most don't." He smiled faintly. "Maybe I was meant to find you." She stood up, walked over and placed her hand over his heart. "And maybe I was meant to be found by you." Elias felt warmth spread through his chest, not just from her touch, but from something deeper. Something ancient and gentle. Then the ship's console beeped. A message blinked across the screen. "Unidentified vessel. You have entered restricted airspace. Return to planetary orbit or be intercepted." Sarai read the message and calmly began, adjusting the ship's course. We're near Earth again, Elias realized. Yes, Sarai said, but they won't welcome me. He looked at her. Then we don't go back. She glanced at him, surprised. You're willing to leave your world behind? Elias gave a small laugh. It never really felt like mine. They sat in silence, again the ship humming softly. Finally, Sarai spoke. There's a place, not far from this system. A moon covered in green mist and warm water. No cities, no machines, just peace. He looked at her and smiled. Then let's go there. But just before she could plot the course, a second signal came through. This time it wasn't a warning. It was a private message. From someone Elias didn't recognize. To whoever is flying that ship. We saw what happened in the wreckage. We saw her energy. We know what she is, and we don't want war. We want to talk. Sarai looked at Elias. Her expression didn't change, but her voice was tight. I don't know if it's a trap. Maybe, he said. But maybe it's the start of something new. She looked at the stars again. They feared me once. If they're ready to listen now, maybe I should give them that chance. Whatever you choose, Sarai, Elias said gently. I'll stand with you. She reached out, took his hand, and gave it a soft squeeze. You freed me not just from a cage, but from fear. You reminded me what trust feels like, what it means to be seen. He smiled. You weren't just a girl in a glass box, Sarai. You were a voice they tried to bury. She turned to the console, her voice calm and full of quiet power. Then, let's make sure they hear it now. She sent a signal back. We will meet. Not to surrender, not to fight, but to speak. As the ship curved toward Earth once more, Elias leaned back, heart full. She wasn't just an alien girl anymore. She was Sarai, guardian of a lost world, protector of light, and the start of a new story for both their kinds. And beside her, a human man who believed when no one else did.